What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Nathan, and on this planet we send it. And what we're going to be getting in today, well, first off, it's Father's Day, so happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. And what we're going to be getting into is, well, I've been watching a couple of videos out there about like the top 10 and the, you know, top or the bottom 10 for Gladiators out there in Mojaves, and some comparisons. And you know, I kind of wanted to, you know, put out some good stuff about the Mojave, because I think some of the stuff out there is just flat out wrong. And you know, I don't know if they're necessarily doing it to be because they're biased or whatever the case may be. They just might not know. So I want to, you know, have a top 10 video about all the great things that I enjoy about the Mojave. And I want you to know I am an owner. So you're going to be getting an actual owner's perspective who has real experience, not someone who's just narrating over a lot of B-reel. As a matter of fact, if you see a top 10 video and you never actually see the person, I would highly start to question if they have any experience at all about it and they're not just reading other people's opinions. So the plan for this video is, unfortunately, I tried to get out and do this intro video, but it's just a little too windy out here in the desert. So I'm going to be recording lots of B-reel and then narrating over it the best I can, and try to make a few guest appearances, you know, throughout the video the best I can. But I feel this is probably not going to be 100% in the desert, and I might have to, you know, mix and match between desert in the editing lab, and then also maybe in my backyard, depending on what I want to do. But all right, I got a plan in place. Risks are acceptable. Let's go ahead and send it. So for the top 10, we are gonna go in what I consider my priority as far as the least to the best. So saving the best for last. And then also we'll give a little bit of a bonus because I'm gonna give an overall too. That might add a few extra things in there, but kind of wrapping everything up also. So the first thing that I wanna talk about that I think is pretty cool, granted it doesn't add any performance to it, but I like all the Easter eggs around the Jeep. I think it is pretty cool about how Jeep decided to put in just some random Easter eggs so that if you're paying attention, you know, you'll be able to kind of find the hidden treasure on already what I consider to be a treasure of a Jeep, of a truck, or a Jeep truck known as the Jeep Gladiator, and also for my Jeep, the Jeep Gladiator Mojave. So number 9 on the list, which I really do appreciate, is the Gladiator Mojave receives standard from the factory the max tow package heavy duty cooling. So that's additional cooling for the engine and also for the transmission. So what that translates to as far as performance wise is that when you're out there just ripping on the desert, yeah, your temperatures will creep up 210, 220 or something. I don't know if I've seen them quite to 230, but as soon as I let off the gas and I'm not zipping around anymore, temperatures drop real fast down to 200 single digits, and then even sometimes if it's cool enough outside to, you know, back below 200s. But right now it's 108 degrees. I just got back on the road, and now that we've been going just for about a minute, the coolant temp is already down to 201. All right, so number 8 on the list, I would like to say, is the amount of space in the back seat. When I was looking at other vehicles out there, like the Toyotas and like Chevys and everything out there, I just thought that the Jeep Gladiator Mojave, or correction, probably just the Jeep Gladiator period, that they had quite a bit of room in the back seat. I mean, obviously, if you're sticking in some, you know, 6'5" people, you're gonna, no matter what vehicle you're in, you're gonna have some problems with. But with my family, and we can fit everyone in here, no problem, and still have plenty of space to go ahead and pack up for camping if necessary. As a matter of fact, I would even say the Jeep Gladiator is a perfect overlanding vehicle because of all the space that you get and able to pack and or, you know, space to bring people. So plus, and then a little added bonus for the Mojave, and we'll talk about it here in a second, but with the frame strengthening, if you really wanted to weight it down, you could absolutely, you know, with confidence know that you're not going to be cracking the frame or anything. Now I'm putting this at number 7, and depending on where you live around the country, you might, you know, this might be a little higher on your list. But the one thing that I think definitely makes the top 10 and makes a Jeep unique than all the other vehicles out there is the ability to take off the hard top, or, you know, take off the top period, have a convertible, and take off the doors. It's all designed to do that. They got little places to store all the bolts and everything when you do take it off. So this vehicle is designed designed to become a convertible, and that is definitely makes it extremely, as I mentioned, unique. But when you really want to experience the outdoor, there's no other vehicle that even comes close to the Jeep being able to do that, literally to turn it into a convertible. And this is for actually, obviously this applies to any Jeep. So if you're out there in any of those places where you've been out sightseeing and your head's like on a swivel and you're just trying to take everything in, yeah, you can do that in just about any vehicle. But when you take off the top, it's just full immersion into nature, and no other vehicle can do that. Granted, some other vehicles have like 360 cameras, and that's kind of cool and all, but that's still looking through a camera and not enjoying it in person, face to face. You're just kind of enjoying it through other objects. And although coming in at number 6 for me, again, for those that live in colder areas than the Southwest, this might be a little higher on your list. But when you're taking off the top and the doors and everything, and it's a little bit cool outside, I have heated seats and heated steering wheel. And that comes into big play when you got the tops off and everything, even if it's not snowing outside, or that you necessarily would typically need the heater on if you had everything, you know, if you weren't in full-on convertible mode. Then when you already do have everything off, the doors and the hardtop, the heated seats and steering wheel definitely come into play, and it is a luxury feature that I enjoy having, or at least it feels luxury whenever I'm doors off, tops off. All right, we're halfway done with the list. Moving on to number 5. I will say one of the reasons why to get this is definitely for the backup camera that comes standard on all the Gladiators, and definitely on my Mojave trim, which I also have the front camera, but we'll talk about that here in a quick second. But I think the backup camera is hands down the best one that I have ever seen. And like I was mentioning on my 1-year review, I travel for work, and I see a lot of rental cars, and I have not seen a backup camera that compares to this one. This one, hands down, is the best one out of all the ones that I've seen. If there's another one out there, you know, that's better than this, let me know. But so far, this is by far the best backup camera that I have ever seen. Also, like I mentioned, I have the front trail cam too. And the front trail cam the resolution isn't as good, but at least it has a wash feature so that you can wash it from inside the vehicle. You just click the little button and it goes ahead and it washes the lens for you a little bit. Sometimes it'll leave a drop of water on there, but when you're considering a drop of water compared to a lot of mud that's just completely blacking out your view, it is a great improvement for you to not have to get out and wipe it yourself. So that's pretty cool. Plus, Uconnect also has Apple CarPlay and Android Audio, etc., and all that's pretty cool. But another great feature of the Uconnect are the off-road pages. The off-road pages, I have definitely been in quite a few times to where the off-road pages are showing the numbered off-road trails that you're currently on if you want to follow. Granted, it's not necessarily as high resolution as maybe Google, you know, Google Maps. However, it is pretty dang good, and I hear that it's even got even better for the 2024 and newer. I already think the 21 and is up is pretty good, so if it's gonna be better than that, you're gonna be in for a great treat when it comes to the Uconnect. Plus, the other good thing about the Uconnect is if you come with the aux switches, you can program all the different aux switches for whether you want the aux switches to be basically for which button you want to do what. So if for whatever reason you want to change number 1 to be number 4, you can update it within the Uconnect, and now every time you push 1, it will be what used to be your number 4, and that's pretty cool. And you can even adjust these switches so that they either act on as a typical on and off, or more like maybe you have a horn or something, a train horn you want to use, that you just it's only on when you're pushing it. So that is quite a few great things about the Uconnect, and I won't go into all the details, but all your environmentals and everything that you control with this, to include the heated steering wheel and the heated seats, those are definitely some great features that you can all connect from one source within your Uconnect. All right, so coming in at number 4, what I want to add on is probably not necessarily a direct performance thing, but I definitely appreciate, now this is unique to the Jeep Gladiator Mojave, is that it has a reinforced frame from the B pillar all the way back to just behind the rear wheel. It is reinforced to go over the different whoops, and as a matter of fact, kind of like I mentioned earlier, which that's another reason why I think that it's a great overland platform, just because it does have the extra frame strengthening. You can get the axles and shocks and everything, but you know, and upgrade them as desired, you know, if you really wanted to beefing up the weight. But you, on the Jeep Gladiator Mojave, at least you also have a frame strengthening at where it's most weak. And then plus the other thing that I talk about, well, as far as like strengthening in the Mojave, is that the knuckles are significantly larger than other trims of the Jeep Gladiator, and so that just gives you a lot of reassurance when you're whipping through the desert, you know, and you're hitting some of them whoops probably a little bit harder than you want to, that you have a little bit of reassurance that this Jeep is going to go ahead and take it. All right, now we're entering the top three, and I have to say, without a doubt, I think Jeeps are probably the most aftermarket accessorized vehicle out there. Doesn't matter which Jeep. Even some of the older ones have a pretty good market, but I will say I have an 06 LJ, and there is a significant jump in aftermarket support once you get to 07 and better. So a lot of people like to joke around like, oh yeah, the Jeep Gladiator is just a JL with a truck bed. You're dang right it is. And you know what? Along with that, you get a huge amount of aftermarket support. Jeeps are just basically the Apple, as far as, you know, if you compare Apple phones compared to the other ones, Apples have a crazy amount of accessories, and I think Jeeps probably put Apple to shame as far as the aftermarket accessories out there available. You can truly customize your Jeep to do anything from extreme mall crawling to hardcore rock crawling. Pick your Jeep, you will be able to do what you want with it. And on top of having so many accessories out there, Jeeps are made to be customized. I recently did a couple of installations on my vehicle, and whether I was inside the Jeep, all the screws were exactly the same size. So if you've ever done some of your own DIY projects on your vehicle and you're trying to remember which screw or bolt goes where, well, at least on the inside, I could say that they're all the same exact size, and that made it really easy to go ahead and, you know, complete that project. And then plus on the inside, like I used to install aftermarket stereos into all my vehicles, and it was always like a complaint, you know, always a challenge to figure out like, okay, where am I going to actually run the power to get my, you know, power to the amps inside the vehicle? Well, Jeep, they have their own like grommets already. They're made for you just to go ahead and drill through. Plus everything is so clean. I routed some wires through one of the wire carriages, and it's just really doing some aftermarket stuff, making it look professional as an amateur DIY. Now number two, hands down the thing that makes the Mojave unique compared to all the other trims out there is the suspension. The tuned Fox shock suspension is second to none. Now I've seen, I think it was Auto Trader did a review, compared the Jeep Gladiator Mojave to the Chevy Bison, and that they said that the Bison's selectable shocks were just like the Mojaves, except you can select them. No, they're not. It's not the same thing to have selectable shocks and compared to shocks that are tuned. If they're just remote reservoirs, okay, maybe. But these things are specifically valved for the weight of the Mojave, which really allows this thing to just rip over the dips and go ahead and just absorb them really well. And whatever it's not able to absorb, then the hydraulic bump stops does the rest. And this thing does a great job with it. My cousin who owns a Raptor says that he thought his suspension came nice out of the, you know, from the factory, and when he rode this, he was like, no, this is even better than his Raptor. So I don't want to do an apples to oranges comparison, but I also want to make sure other people aren't doing apples to oranges comparison. So just keeping this within the Jeep Gladiator Mojave compared to other mid-sized trucks, that having tuned suspension, I don't think any other truck out there has tuned suspension. All right, now we're on to number one, and save the best for last. And I'm just gonna say the number one reason why to get the Jeep Gladiator Mojave over all the other Gladiator trims is definitely for the on and off-road handling. Hands down, none of the other trims can beat this. And I would even say potentially for some of the other mid-sized trucks, you definitely will, the Jeep Gladiator Mojave will give all the others a run for their money. So let's just break break that down just real quickly into on and off-road handling. So for on-road, the great thing about this is all the things that make it great for off-road, like I discussed earlier, makes it great for on-road. So you can be going over bumps and dips and really not have to worry about slowing down other than to be legal. So like I mentioned in my 1-year video, I have 4-wheel auto. And if you also have 4-wheel auto, combine that with your off-road plus feature that basically adds another tune just through the electronics by a click of a button, then you can go ahead and pass vehicles on 2-lane roads with a lot more ease, because when you push off-road plus, it go ahead and really uses almost 300 horses that this engine has to offer. Plus, combined with the 8-speed transmission, it just really keeps you in the torque band very nicely, and you just accelerate so quickly. It is a great feature to combine some of the off-road with the on-road aspects of it. But for long trips or whatever the case may be, you're gonna feel very comfortable in this Jeep Gladiator. Like I mentioned, there's plenty of space in the back for the family, as long as you don't got too big of a family, but it is just a great platform, and I just really appreciate how this feels on the road. Now off the road, I've already kind of demonstrated it. So as far as off-road, what I really, if you have the opportunity and you're considering a Jeep Gladiator, maybe a Jeep Gladiator Mojave, or you're just not sure which and you're looking at Jeep, different mid-sized trucks, I highly recommend, if you have the opportunity, take a Jeep Gladiator Mojave off-road and on-road. Hopefully you got the dealer has a little trail nearby, you can kind of flex both. If not, then just don't be scared to light up the vehicle, give it some gas, do a little cornering on it. You will feel the suspension even on the road. And then if you can find a few bumps to go over the bumps at 20-25 miles an hour, you're definitely going to notice how the shocks just absorb everything up. But again, if you have an opportunity, take it off-road. You will not be disappointed. And as I mentioned, kind of like the final, maybe bonus one, where I'm just going to put my overall thoughts. And again, I'm a Jeep enthusiast, so my opinion is a little biased, but I think the Jeep Gladiator Mojave, hands down, is the best mid-sized truck out there. I've already talked about my top 10, but when you just add those all together, what it really creates is like the perfect platform for you to start with a very great base model and customize it to be exactly what you want it to be. If you wanted to do hard rock crawling in your Gladiator, you could do it in this. Yes, you're not going to be as nimble as the smaller 2-doors or whatever the case may be, sure, but you can really get this thing to performing outstanding. You can take it on the Rubicon and quite a few other places. If you put axles and the protective gear, etc., to be able to do it, this platform is great because you just have so much space to pack all your camping gear along with it. And then plus, obviously, if you're able to pack a lot of camping gear, it makes it a great overlanding vehicle to go ahead and do so. You have the reinforced frame, you have the additional strengthening of the knuckles, the added cooling. Everything just makes it, a perfect platform. So hands down, the Jeep Gladiator Mojave is by far what I think to be the best platform for doing just about anything, because it does everything really, really good. There might be some things out there that do certain things a little bit better, but this thing does everything else significantly well, which makes this thing a great platform to start with on whatever off-road adventures you have in store for your vehicle. All right, that's gonna go ahead and wrap up this video, and I hope I wasn't, throwing a little too much confusion in there with switching out clothes and doing my last few clips out here at the beach. But here in San Diego, it's like 69 degrees on June 21st, so I was just out there trying to enjoy the weather, and so, please forgive me if that added any extra confusion. But just to finish up the video, I don't want to say the Jeep Gladiator is a perfect all-around platform. It has its faults. As a matter of fact, if you want to see some of the things that I discussed with the faults that it has, go ahead and watch my 1-year review right there. I'll put a link right there, and where I talk about, potentially some serious things to consider. I will say that for the most part, those issues have been sort of, quite a few people have had them, but for the majority, not many people have had it, especially based on the comments that I've seen on that video. I really do feel, for all the reasons that I mentioned in this video, the Jeep Gladiator, and especially the Jeep Gladiator Mojave, should at least be on your list of contenders if you're considering having an off-road vehicle and an off-road truck explicitly. But anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.